Everyone, this is Elias from RevMatch Media, and today we're going to be taking a look at the 2021 BMW M5 Competition. Yeah, there's really not much competition for this car. Well, let's go ahead and get started. We get to the front and we can see this is very iconic BMW, and we'll start with the big debate whether this is going to keep this kidney design or this grille design. Honestly, to me, the M3, M4, I still love it with the larger areas. It does look kind of weird in pictures. In real life, it does look nice though. Personal opinion. I know I'm gonna hear it, but this has the blacked out grille. Looks really nice with the contrast of this amazing red. You guys know I love a good red and black combination, and this does the job really well. And we come over to the headlights. These things are incredible. You know, just even the turn signals, just very iconic BMW, and they just look so nice, and they shine real bright as well. And down here we have a nice aggressive bumper, and you're gonna need that because we're gonna need a lot of cooling to come in here because of what's under here. I don't know if you guys hear it, but the fans are on this. What's great about this car, so we'll get a little into the engine already, but it actually, after you stop it, it does run a cooling program on it to make sure that it's cool. Make sure that there's no hot oil, or just cools down significantly to, you know, improve on the life of the engine. So that's what you're hearing right now. Let's check to see what's under the hood and what's making all that noise. We get under the hood and we see a lot going on. So we have the 4.4 liter V8 twin turbo under here, cranking out 600 horsepower, connected to the 8-speed automatic and to their xDrive 4-wheel drive system. Wow. Yeah, that's the word I had after I first decided to, let's do a nice little pull on this. Couple of things with this. So yeah, we have some nice little carbon fiber bits. It's kind of big, it's kind of cluttered a little bit in here. You're probably not going to be working on this car yourself, but yeah, it looks really good. And with that power delivery, it's very old school. I say old school, but that's just kind of an excuse for turbo lag. But I'll say old school because it does have turbo lag, but the power after the turbo comes in still keeps going and going. Typically turbochargers, you'll get their kind of sweet spot in like the mid to high range, and then we start to see it die out. Not with this. With this thing wants to keep pulling and pulling. Real high-end power, that's where this thing excels, which is crazy. So mid-range is great because the turbos start to pull to spool up, but that mid to high and that high end power is unbelievable. It just keeps going and going. That's what I loved about this, and that's why I said old school turbo, because you just, you know, it's not just that it has turbo lag, but it's the power range is way you know, still up there in the high end power. Yeah. The transmission was great. I loved it. No complaints there. Worked really well. The xDrive system was helpful with the launch control. So this does have launch control, and it really gets the power down. So those 600 horsepower feel unbelievable because you get the power down and it just goes. So that's the great thing about this. Same thing I felt in the M2 CS that we test drove. It wasn't like an insane amount of power that car has, but when you pair it up with, you know, light nimble body and just that powertrain to get it down to the ground was so good. And that's what this is. It really gets the power down. Now, the other thing that's really great about this is because there's so much going on here, and with those double twin turbochargers, it does have, like you guys heard, the kind of the cooling program after you turn off the car. So yeah, just be aware of that. It'll be running for a little bit after that. But yeah, this has been so much fun when it comes to the feel and the power of this vehicle. This is the heart of what an M should be. Well, let's take a look at what we have in those wheels and tires. Now we take a look at the wheel and tire package, and yeah, we have a nice big 20-inch wheel because you need a big wheel like this to really set the right proportions to this. So it is wrapped in a 275, 35, 20 Pirelli P0 on this, and in the back it's a little bit wider at 285. Now, story time with this. So went to grab some food, and I park, and all of a sudden I see it has the tire pressure warning. I thought, okay, maybe it was just a little too low, you know, ambient temperature, whatever the case was, or maybe I have a slow leak. So I said, okay, turn the car off, get out, and I hear the immediate loud sound of air coming out of a tire. I look at it, and immediately I see it's flat. I grab my food. I said, okay, perfect. Let me go ahead and get the repair kit. Yeah, I knew it wasn't gonna have a spare tire, so repair kit it was, and repair kit was not working. It actually made a huge mess. My hands were, my hands were dirty with that sealant that it has. And yeah, ended up having to get towed for a flat tire. Yes, I know. And the local BMW, which will remain nameless, didn't see my car the next day. Couldn't find my car the next day. Yeah, so not the best experience, guys. It kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. I just wasn't happy with it, with the experience. And then they found out that there was a nail in the other tire. So I don't know what the original one was, but they found in the passenger rear that I had a nail in there. So BMW of America got billed $730 for 2 of these tires, one front, one back. Moral of the story is, if you have the option for tire road hazard insurance, get it, because it's gonna be worth it. With 1 or 2 tires that get replaced, you're immediately gonna probably pay for it, because typically those are about $1,000 or so for usually the longevity of either a lease or about 3 years or so. But you definitely want to get it. Besides that, this tire has a lot of grip. It was a little touchy on some wet parts, especially when we got some really bad rain these days. And but other than that, the grip was there. It was so good. And the only thing with this is that the road, you felt everything. So it's not a very forgiving tire wheel combo. Maybe go a little bit smaller to give me more, you know, road meat. But yeah, it was a little on the harsher side. And even in the soft comfort, you definitely felt everything on the road. The brakes, gosh, love them. Carbon ceramic, but they were a little aggressive. Even on everyday stop and go traffic, just with the weight of my foot on there, it was enough to really get the car stopped. So it's a little too aggressive on the initial bite, but when you're going, you know, when you're needing it for emergency purposes, you can really slam on this and it will get it stopped immediately. Well, let's take a look at the side and see how this looks. We get to the side and we can see this is very iconic BMW M5. You see the proportions, and it really reminds you of like the 90s. I believe that's either the 2nd and 3rd generation 5 Series, but it has that look. Thankfully, the 2000s one that was didn't influence much of this design, but it really is a great looking side profile. We have the nice big swooping front hood, and we can see it's got a little bit of, you know, nice sculptured lines there. We see the nice front headlights. We can see that little turn signal right in there, and we have these massive 20-inch wheels, which look really great with this size. And we can see those big carbon ceramic brakes with that colored caliper, which looks unbelievable. We have nice little competition touches here in the front fender. We have your black mirrors as well, which look nice, again with the contrast of this red. And we do have a camera on here, and we also did have a camera in the front to give that 360 view, because thankfully this does, because it's a little bit on the bigger side to really get parked and make sure you don't curb these expensive wheels or, you know, just damage anything else for that matter. Now, again, we have this nice design here with this line, and we have no sunroof, but we do have a carbon fiber roof, which I'll trade any day for. So yeah, it looks really, really nice on there. And again, back here, we do have the carbon fiber spoiler, and yeah, it just looks nice. Now, the other thing with this is I don't have the key fob near me because it would trigger the car to unlock. Let me go ahead and walk and grab the key fob, and this is what makes this car so great, and I love it. So we have the key fob, not sure if you guys can see, but we have the key fob here, and as soon as I start to get close to it, again, I'm not pressing it, it unlocks, which is great. No need for me to pull, push, and nothing. It's truly a keyless entry, which is awesome. That's what I want. And again, I can just open it, I'm in, and I'm good to go. I can close it, and if my hands are full, I'll go ahead and walk off camera, and you're gonna hear it's just gonna go ahead and lock on its own. And there you go. Yeah, and again, the moment I get close to it, it unlocks. Thank you, BMW. Thank you for getting this right. So many other manufacturers just don't do it right, and you guys have been able to accomplish this. I don't have to, you know, it makes it easy for me to get my kid out of the car and just go. I don't have to worry about, did I lock the car? Did I, you know, anything? It will lock on its own. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the back and see what we have there. We get to the back and we can see this thing looks really, really nice. Again, we have this nice little spoiler up here, which breaks up the line. It's a nice design. Just keep it simple, nothing too loud, nothing, you know, massive wing or wang. So we do have that, which is, like I said, a nice touch. These taillights look so nice. They look really, really good. Nice aggressive look to it as well. And probably my favorite, the exhaust. I don't even have to look and, you know, bend over and look or anything like that. I can tell that these exhaust tips are going all the way to the actual exhaust. I don't have fake, you know, exhaust tips. I don't have fake design or anything. No, this is what I'm seeing here is the exhaust itself. I love it. It sounds so good. And we'll get to that. We take a look at the key fob again, which you guys know my favorite, and there's a couple of buttons. We don't see a remote start, but that's because it's kind of hidden. You're supposed to actually press that little, the roundel, I think it's called, or the little BMW logo 3 times, and that will get the remote start active. We'll get to that soon, but I want to show you the trunk space. So you do have the remote, you also have the button there to open up the trunk area, and it's deceivingly big. So I made a run to go grab some boxes to, you know, to make boxes so they were flat. And even though it looks wide, the opening, the inside, because of the wheel fenders, actually narrows down the actual usable area of the trunk. So that was surprising and kind of a letdown. I actually had to put the boxes in the passenger side to be able to fit them in the car. So just be aware, like I said, it looks like it's big, but because of those hips, so to speak, inside, it does cut out a lot of the trunk area. So just be aware of that. It was a little bit of a letdown. I wish it, you know, I wish it could have a little bit more space for just everyday use, but yeah, it's okay. Now, again, with the key fob being near it, it will lock and unlock. Let's see if it will go ahead and restart. Yeah, so you have that. Yeah, that's That's pretty loud. My neighbors didn't like me this week. That's still loud. Yeah. So if you guys can hear this, hopefully this is recording right or well, but just make sure you're really, really good friends with your neighbors. Your neighbors love cars because this is definitely going to cause some noise or make some noise. Well, okay. It's just so loud. Well, let's go ahead and hop in and go for a ride. We get inside the BMW M5 Competition. Of course you have to say it like that because you paid extra for the competition part, so you gotta say it. Well, anyways, we get inside and this one is equipped with, just as an overview, it is equipped with their like tan colored option for the seats. It does look a little bit yellow in pictures, just like when you're outfitting it in the website, as well as when you take a picture of it. For some reason it goes yellow, but it is kind of like a tannish yellow. And we take a look at the door handles just really quick. Again, we have the aluminum that has kind of like the aluminum finish, really, that has the carbon fiber pattern. Looks nice. We have the lighting system like you do with the Mercedes. It's a nice little touch on that as well. We have the, again, like I mentioned, that tan side of things that looks a little yellow, but it's good. I would have never selected this option until I saw it in person, and I thought, yeah, that looks actually really good. So I love that. And then we get to the seat itself, and it is super comfortable. There's a lot of adjustability in this. And what's crazy is that these are very like race inspired seats. They're like really bolstered race looking bucket seats, but they're super comfortable. That's kind of the fine line of like, you want some sporty seats in a car so that when you're driving on the track, if you take it out on the track, or some spirited driving, you want it to hug you in, but also want the, you know, the seats to be comfortable for those long rides, or when you're just not, you know, you just want to sit in the car and go for a small drive and not have to worry about, you know, oh gosh, you know, I'm going to be super uncomfortable. But they're really big and they're really comfortable, and they're just so much adjustability. Right now I'm actually adjusting the bolsters, so it goes ahead and hugs me a bit, and you can really get this thing to squeeze you. So let me back off that a little bit. But there's tons of adjustability on these seats. I love them. They've been super comfortable. Now, oh, and they have that cool little M5 little badge on the headrest, which is really nice. I don't believe you can adjust the headrest. I've been having trouble with trying to, but it's fine. It works the way it is there. The steering wheel is pretty awesome. It's very comfortable. This is the standard. I say standard, but this is pretty up there with really good steering wheels. But it's leather wrapped, feels super comfortable. We have the red and blue stitching, which is such a nice touch on this. And we have the M buttons, so the M profile buttons on here. They're flashy red, which is nice. I love it. You know, those things are awesome to program tons of different things to, you know, set your mood, so to speak. They're gonna be called mood buttons. I would say that. That's definitely for not just yourself, but for the car as well. And we have just kind of your buttons for cruise control information and for the, you know, for your infotainment controls. They've been pretty good. You know, probably my favorite thing is the volume and the track change. They've been nice here on the right side, one right above the other, and they've been fairly comfortable. No issues with getting to it. This also has the paddle shifters in the back. They've been okay. They've been okay. I haven't. So they've been okay because with this car, with so much power, I haven't really gotten the power, or I haven't accelerated fast on a corner, so I haven't needed to shift while the steering wheel is turned. It's gotten away with it. It's gotten away with it because the paddle shifters only go up. They're only going up. They don't go below the steering wheel. So it's getting away with the fact that I'm kind of scared of really hammering this down, and you know, on a turn that I may not have kind of that situation going on there. We get to the gauge cluster, and not gonna lie, it's kind of a lot going on, but there aren't any analog gauges, which is nice. You have that little flexibility of having a display and being able to display, you know, change the things. And I say little flexibility because I haven't been able to find how to change things around, except for when you change to the different track modes or the different M modes that this has. Yeah, it's kind of, the BMW system is not the most intuitive, so it's kind of like stay in your lane. I'm kind of guilty of it too, because I haven't ventured into that. I've been more focused on just enjoying the car. And I guess, again, gets another free pass of the system may be not the best, but because I haven't cared for it, that it's just that good of a fun car to drive, that's kind of been secondary to me. But again, the gauge cluster is okay. We have, when we're not in the track mode or the race mode, actually performance, let's see, when we are not in the sport mode, when we're in the road mode, we kind of have these kind of like brackets, kind of these like a C on the left and a backward C on the right. That's going to be your tach on the right and your speedometer on the left, and it's okay. Like I said, it's nothing inspiring. This does have the heads-up display, which is nice, pretty clear as far as the brightness, but it's a little on the soft side. It's I don't know, I haven't been able to quite adjust my eyes to it. Not sure if just me, but yeah, so just be aware of it being slightly soft. Land Rover still has the, like, whoa, this is really, really sharp and bright. We get over to the infotainment system, and we have this massive screen. It is huge, and I love it. I love it. It's nice and bright. It's very vibrant, as you can see the colors, and it is really good. It is really good. It's a touch screen. This, when you're this size, you want me to touch it, and it works well, and it's no complaints about that. As far as the physical screen itself, the menus are a different thing. They are, like I said, a little bit pretty in depth with things. The verbiage, I think, is probably the big thing. Even though Mercedes has a ton of things, I'm able to understand what's going on and visually get to what I need to get to. Now, this one is outfitted with the Bowers & Wilkins system. It's been loud, it's been clear, it's been nice to be able to blast music in this. So definitely there. It does have Apple CarPlay, and it has wireless Apple CarPlay. It's been a hit or miss thing. And I think it's more on the flaw of on the side of Apple. I don't think it's something with the BMW, but what I mean by that is, when I go near my supermarket, they provide Wi-Fi, and their Wi-Fi is extremely strong, to the point where you're out on the street in front of it, and it will try to connect to that network. And when it does that, it actually disconnects your Apple CarPlay, because that's how Apple CarPlay connects, through a wireless network. So not a fault of BMW, it's an Apple thing, but just be aware that if your Apple CarPlay starts getting a little weird and you're near maybe a building that you've connected to a Wi-Fi, or in a garage, maybe that, I don't know, a garage still building, something like that, whatever the case is, it will disconnect and want to connect to that network. So just be aware of that. Again, it's kind of, I've been able to just plug it in and be fine. We come down here to the AC controls, and boy, have we needed the AC this week. It's been extremely hot here. So it's been really easy to just set these things up. We do have this little touch screen here, which has been really, really nice to interact with. I've loved this. I really love this. And this does have cooled and heated seats, and you have your controls for that right here. The cooling on this hasn't been that great. I've experienced others that have been significantly better, but anything helps with this heat. We come a bit lower and we have that aluminum carbon fiber print kind of thing going on there. And it has a little cover here, a little door, and that's where you can put your phone for wireless charging. This does have wireless charging in it, which is nice when you have it paired with the wireless Apple CarPlay. With this, I will tell you, it is a little bit uncomfortable to get to, which is, I guess, a good thing. You just put it and it's like BMW is telling you, no, don't touch your phone, leave it there. You can control everything here, which is good. But when you need to get out, it's it's a little kind of weird to, it's tight. It's a tight squeeze in there. And we have the cup holders, fairly good, no complaints there. It's probably not the biggest with, you know, just be careful with wider cups at the top because it may press your buttons here. So just be aware of that. We get down to the kind of command center of everything here. We have the wheel system that BMW uses, and again we have those quick buttons here, which has been really my go-to for this. You know, I have my media controls, my menus, my map, back, you know, all that stuff here, and you can spin this, you can, you know, move it left and right, up and down. So it's a nice joystick, so to speak, because that's what it feels like. It's a knob with a joystick function as well. We get over to the left side of things and we have the performance, or the fun buttons as we'll call it. So the fun buttons, we have the traction control off. We haven't turned it off. I don't want to. This is a lot of power. It's a big car and it's not my car and we're on public roads. So traction control has been off. It's also been wet. So definitely don't want to turn that off. We have your setup button, which we'll get into, but basically this, when we press it, it's gonna give you those functions of engine, chassis, steering, and the X drive. Then we have the M mode, which is gonna let you switch between road, sport, and if you hold it down, it'll switch you to track. I'll go ahead and stay in road because we wanna be able to hear me right now. And that brings me to my next button, and that is the actual exhaust button. So you can press the exhaust button and it will open it up and get louder. It is a lot of fun. This thing really roars. And we have your parking stuff, which is nice when you're trying to park, because it's a fairly big vehicle, yeah, and you want to make sure you don't dent anything, whether it's the car or someone else's stuff. And then we have just kind of your 360-degree camera there. So we'll go back to media, leave that there. But then we come back to the glove box, and that's where it's kind of on the small side, so don't expect to have too many big things there. And yeah, that's where I have my phone. I have, a lot of times I'll put the key in there, but it's not that big. So just be aware that I have that in there, and it has my USB. So my phone is connected right now via the USB connection. We get to the back and we can see that we have my kiddo's seat there. Very comfortable, plenty of space for him to sit there, no complaints. His favorite, as he said, is the privacy screens in the back. So this does give you those little shades that you can put. Helps out when you are wanting to, you know, keep the sun out. So you can probably see them right there. Oh, right there. So they are back there. And it has for that little corner triangle window as well, which is always a good thing, because if you didn't have that, you know, that's exactly where all the light would be coming in. So it does have that, which is a good thing. And we can take a look in the back and see that this actually has a privacy screen in the back as well, which is a nice touch. Gives that executive kind of automobile kind of feel to it. And it just, you know, makes the kid happy when he doesn't have the sun blaring down on him. Now we get to the trunk, and the trunk was a little confusing with this because I expected a large amount of space, and it looks to be a large amount of space, but it does have that thing where, because of the wheel wells, they really narrowed down kind of the main area of the actual trunk, and it kind of suffers. It kind of suffers with putting larger things. I was surprised. If that wasn't there and it was just a complete straight area for trunk space, then wow, this would be massive when it came to being able to put things in the back. Let's talk performance. Now, this thing excels, but also falls a little short with things. I'll let you know what I mean. But let's start with the positives. We're dealing with a 4.4 liter V8 twin turbocharged engine, cranking out 600 horsepower, going through the 8-speed automatic and through the 4-wheel drive system. Now, as far as, let's start with the engine itself. This thing is amazing. Let's have some fun. Let's go ahead and switch this over to sport, and I'm gonna go ahead and choose my setup. Actually, I'm just gonna press my M1 button, because my M1 button, or my mood, as I like to call it now, is setting my engine to Sport Plus. My chassis is set to Comfort. I'll switch that over to Sport Plus for this filming. The steering is set to Sport, and the X-Drive is set to 4-wheel drive. And I'm going to turn on the exhaust. Yes, it's like, I know, really kind of like open up the valves, the exhaust valves. But let's switch over to the manual mode. And I just want to downshift for you guys. That is so addicting. This thing sounds so good. And boy, does it get the power down. It is extremely fast. This thing, yeah, the power is there, but it comes in kind of a delayed way. So it is kind of an old school power delivery, where just a little bit of a turbo lag, but then when it hits, it really hits hard. It's crazy how fast this thing really hits. And let's go ahead and, oh, and it will not shift too. So it is just incredible. The power delivery is unbelievable. What's great about this with the transmission is on the shifter itself, this is probably one of my favorite features of this. We have essentially how aggressive you want the shifts to be. So we have the different shift points on here. So that's really nice to have. If you want to be very aggressive with it, you can bump it up all the way or bring it down. Now what's great about this is it has launch control. So you're able to do that. And dear God, this thing goes. It just wants to keep accelerating more and more and more. And when you're up there accelerating, let me just downshift because, you know, it just sounds so good. And the great thing about this is when you go to brake, man, do those brakes just stop you on a dime. These brakes, carbon ceramic, are really, really strong. The power though is very old school. It's just very old school turbo, when you feel essentially the turbos then kick in, and they're kicking in and they don't stop. That's the insane thing about this. The the power just never stops going. It's unbelievable. I don't know how they're able to get just so much power down. That's the other thing. To get the power down is just so good in this. And it's not a small car. And oh God. It's a really, really, really powerful car. Now, with that being said though, its downsides to its kind of downfalls that I mentioned with the performance is when you're just riding in road mode, and if you set this up and the engine isn't a problem, it's the chassis. The chassis with this in Comfort, it is not comfortable. This thing is as if those wheels are solid to to the chassis of this car. It's not forgiving. Even though the seats really help this out, and even with the function of massage, because these do have a massage, it's not Mercedes good. Yeah, but that's fine. That's another story. But as far as the chassis feel, it's very stiff, and it's too much of a performance vehicle to almost be driven as an everyday vehicle. I hate to say that, but this feels more like a race car that has been put to be used on the road, but it missed those marks. The chassis is just too stiff. The suspension, I say chassis, but I mean everything. The chassis itself, the suspension, the wheels, just everything, the tires. You're feeling everything. These little bumps, I'm really feeling it, which is good when you're in Sport Plus. But when you are in comfort mode, it's not really something you want to kind of feel. You want, soften that dampening up a little bit, or significantly in this case, because it's gonna need it. As far as the steering, Sport is great. The steering wheel itself has been awesome. It has a good heavy feel to it, which is good when you're in Sport mode, or when you're in comfort mode. It does give a good amount of sway for it to be, oh yeah, you can really feel it when I do that and I switch to the modes. But again, the comfort things you have in this are good. As far as like the auto hold, you definitely want that as an everyday car. But I was struggling to have this, to like it on an everyday, more commute. And I hate to say that. The other thing that is kind of not there is the brakes. They're too much there. These brakes are too high performance. And it's so weird to say, but the brake pedal, I don't know if that can be changed as far as with the mode, but it's just too aggressive. When you're literally like in stop and go traffic, you barely put the weight of your foot. The weight of my foot is barely on it, and you're wanting to eat the steering wheel. So at higher speeds, oh, it's brilliant. At higher, highway speeds, and some person cuts you off and you're needing to brake in an emergency case, this thing is brilliant. But when it comes to just everyday driving, it's tough. It's really tough to basically modulate that brake, because again, just the weight of my foot is gonna really get an aggressive bite. Yeah, I wish that would be changed with maybe chassis. I would say maybe soften the brake pedal application. And granted, I know for safety, but obviously in an emergency case, these computer systems can immediately pick up and know that you're wanting to brake in an emergency scenario and apply, the great amount of braking power this has. But yeah, that has been probably my biggest issues with this car. Do I care? When I'm paying about $130,000 and I get this, it's tough. It's tough. I honestly think I would probably get the M2 over this. I hate to say it because this has more space. It's bigger, it's definitely faster, but it just, oh yeah, that's addicting as well. And again, like I said, it's not that six cylinders don't sound, it's not that six cylinders sound bad. It's just V8s just sound so much better. And this really does sound so much better. This thing is insane. This thing is insane with performance. I'm just smiling. This thing is just too much of a blast to drive in the right environments. Well guys, I hope you've enjoyed my review of the BMW M5 Competition. I've had a massive blast with this. This thing is incredible. And remember, find the right gear. See ya.